Hello, and welcome to the show. And we're back with a more creative people that I love to talk to and get to how they tick and so on. And today, I'm joined by a friend of mine. It's Maggie Dunne, who was in um, an 80s band called We've Got a Fuzzbox and We're going to use it, although Fuzzbox for short generally. And we're going to get into the nitty gritty of that too. So, Mags, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Right, you were born in, you correct me if I'm wrong, but you were born in Birmingham, weren't you?
No,
No, right? I knew I was going to get it wrong.
no, I wasn't. But that's quite a funny story, actually, because I thought I was born in Birmingham, and somebody who did our wiki page, I don't know who does it, put Mags was born in Solihull, and I was like, no, it wasn't. It turns out I was. So
Ah.
I'm actually a Silhillian. I'm posh.
I see you're posh end of Birmingham, yeah.
It's not
Um,
in Birmingham.
it's not in Birmingham,
Don't
sorry.
say that to Silhillians proper. Oh, they don't like that, Frank. They don't. Yeah. It's
If you were born,
Solihull.
if you were born in a black country, it might be considered to be like a version of a Cockney accent, like sort of the lower. Is that right? Or
It's actually a dialect. So the black country. So instead of how are you, it's how am ya.
you
Yeah.
also say, if I correct me if I'm wrong, but you also say mum as in the American version, don't you?
Yeah,
MOM.
that's right. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, which is
Mum,
interesting.
mum.
Mom rather than mum.
Our
Yeah,
mums, not
yeah,
our mums. Our moms. We have
yeah.
moms in Birmingham.
Mom. Yeah, it's interesting the different dialects. Yeah. Um, Now, when you were when you were growing up at home in Solihull,
Well, I
uh,
lived in Birmingham. We weren't posh enough for Solihull.
right? um, you you and your young sister Joe, who
Hmm.
we're going into more depth later on because I'd like to have share you some of your memories of Joe. But what sort of music back then was being played in the house? What kind of things were you sort of subjected is the wrong word, but what kind of things, songs were you listening to around that time?
Well, um, a, a really wide variety of stuff. So my dad was a huge Perry Como and Engelbert Humperdinck fan.
Yeah,
So we listened to and Andy Williams. Um, but my mum was a big Beatles fan, um, and sort of rock and roll kind of Fats Domino fan as well. Um, so there was that kind of stuff. And then I learnt the piano, so I played a lot of classical stuff. And then we had, because we were from an Irish family, we had traditional Irish music as well.
same here actually. Yeah,
A lot of different influences, really.
yeah. It's kind of similar actually. Some of the music you mentioned there is quite kind of similar to what I heard in my when I was growing up because both my parents were Irish
Yeah.
from the south, and my dad was also a big kind of country music fan. He used to get a lot of that, and sometimes used to get a crossover country Irish. They called it
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
kind of hybrid, and he'd listen to things like Jim Reeves as well, people like that. They're kind of the easy listening, kind of crooning stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Dean Martin, uh, Louis Armstrong, that kind of thing, you know. So, and Elvis was a big one, obviously, as well. So I heard a lot of that, you know, that kind of some of it rubbed off on me later on. Not all of it, but some of it, you know. Um, but can you remember, Maggie, what was the first record you actually bought yourself?
Yeah. It was Seasons in the Sun.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I remember that. I can't remember who did it, but I remember the song.
Terry Jacks did the cover, but it is actually a Jacques Brel song. So
Ah,
I'm really quite proud of the fact that the first record I bought was written by Jacques Brel. Get
yeah.
me?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. On reflection, you realise that at the time you think, oh, it's just a nice song, you know. But
Oh, it was morbid. I was obviously a goth from an early age, you know. Sort of, you know,
yeah.
it's really morbid. Um, yeah.
I've listened to a recent interview with Terry Hall of Specials and Funboy Free and so on, and he was choosing his favourite songs, or the first, I think one of the first records he got, or remembered, was Seasons in the Sun as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, how
And he said that
interesting.
kind, because they asked him what was the influence with, what was the music direction uh, uh, with the Colour Field, you know, that group he had, the Colour Field, which I like after Funboy Free, because they were quite different musically, and he said what were your influences for that kind of sound, and he says Seasons in the Sun,
Oh,
kind of, yeah. And now when I listen to it now, I kind of get that vibe, yeah. I kind of see where he's coming from a bit, you know, but yeah,
oh,
um,
fascinating.
yeah, yeah. And I do like him a lot anyway. I think he's an awesome talent. Um, Now, Maggie, here we go. Let's get on to Fuzzbox, because that was a big part of your life and still is in a way.
Hmm.
Um, how were how were how were you formed? How did it all happen?
Oh, it was a joke. We were at a nightclub one night, and this friend of mine said they were playing. He had a band, and they were playing called the Bang Sisters. They were playing at the old barrel organ, as was, and but they didn't have any support. And so I looked at Joe and I said, "Well, we'll do something." Thinking, we just, I don't know what I thought we'd do, but anyway, we literally went round the nightclub looking for Vix and Tina, and we said, do you want to be in a band?" And they said, "Yeah." Which was wrecking. Yeah, all right. So we'll meet on Sunday and we'll do something. And we did. It's quite extraordinary, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
it's the naivety of youth.
it all happened quite quick for you as well, didn't it? From the
Yeah,
moment you
it
formed,
did.
it kind of was really quite fast.
It
From
was. We got signed at our second gig.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, what's
I
the
don't,
chances of that? I mean, that's very rare that kind of thing happens, you know.
what's the chances? I mean, who was mad enough? It was just extraordinary. I mean, when I got the phone call, I told Rob Lloyd to fuck off because I thought it was somebody just having a joke,
Yeah,
just playing up. But it wasn't. It was real.
yeah.
And so we did a demo tape, and then Rules and Regulations was born, and so yeah,
Extraordinary. It's
really, really
extraordinary
was.
that kind of, yeah, that is really, yeah, right place, right time, I guess, in many ways.
It just was, and sort of something that really annoys me about celebrities who say, "Oh, I work so hard," and you think like everybody else doesn't, is the number one annoyance with that. But the other one is luck plays such a major part in
Oh yeah,
people's lives, particularly in music,
yeah,
or if you're an actor or whatever, you just happen to be there, right place in the right time, and your life can turn corners in ways that you would never have imagined. And sort of, I definitely know that we were lucky.
yeah. Like, yeah, you're right. Luck is don't underestimate luck. It's a great part of it. Yeah, it really is. But it worked out great for you, for a few years there, number of years.
Yeah, it did.
So you know, fantastic. I heard, right, and I think I just missed you playing actually at the time, because I went to see um Jesus and Mary Chain in '86 was the first time I saw them at
Mhm.
uh, the National in Kilburn. But
Yeah,
you actually Fuzzbox actually taught you actually played support with them, didn't you?
we
Well,
did at Coventry University.
yeah. What was that like?
It was hilarious. We couldn't believe that they actually wanted us to support them, and we went on stage, and when we came off, they went, "That was brilliant." They loved us. They genuinely loved us, which is
The
hilarious.
kind of thing. It's fascinating, sort of double bill to have you on there and then met with Mary Chain. Think, oh, how's that going to
Yeah.
work? But it did, kind of, yeah,
Well, so we had a good time.
yeah.
We, that's you know what was it. We just really, we really. I don't think we really understood what was happening at the time, and I think we thought, by this time, sort of next week, people will have realised that we're rubbish. But the thing was, when I look back, I would have liked to have gone to see Fuzzbox if I wasn't in them,
Yeah,
because we were doing something really, really different. And, you know, and we upended the indie scene, really. Um, we were women for a
yeah.
start, but then we we were irreverent, and sort of all these guys that took it all so seriously, and it's just like, what? um sort of, yeah, it was
You were
different. It
fun.
was
That's the
different.
thing. That's the main thing. You were
Yeah, but
fun.
we had serious political messages in our
Yeah,
song. It wasn't all just a big laugh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially things like rules and regulations, for instance. Would be one
Well,
of
our
them.
first single was Rules and Regulations and XXX,
Yeah,
double A side, both very political songs.
yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting how you can. Some people can miss those things because if you've got lyrical content, but you've got a very catchy hook in a song that people
Yeah,
dance to, they tend to kind of like lose themselves in that more than the lyrics. Um,
yeah,
and there's quite a few examples of bands that do that. Uh, um, there's a band I used to love and still do called New Music, and they only had like a big hit with Living by Numbers in the '80s, but they're lyrically, they were talking about very deep issues like apocalyptic things and the Cold War and all that. But because it was dressed with such a pop sound, synth
hmm
pop. Uh, Often people didn't get it, and they didn't get successful because of that, I think, and they didn't have a really good image either. Um, but had things changed a bit, I think they could have gone on to do quite big things, but sadly it just didn't go that way. But I don't know if you remember them, but
I don't. I don't.
but yeah, I used to like them. Now, getting on to that first record, Maggie, Boston, Steve Austin. Explain to me, please, what Boston means. That's a term that's in the Midlands, isn't it? I think.
It is. It just
Yeah,
means Boston Steve Austin was, oh, that's great, wicked, or that kind of thing.
yeah.
So that's what Boston. That's Boston.
The cover of it's really like really in your face, real colourful. All you
hmm
there. I like the cover. It's like announcing you, like here we are. Um, uh, now, so from the moment you got you were noticed in that second gig, how fast was it before you went into studio to record the album?
Um, well, we recorded Rules and Regulations and XXX and ARG, and that was our first release. And initially, there were 500 copies of that printed up, but they sold out, and we could not believe that there were 500 people wanted to buy our record. And it sold thousands. Well, it got to number 41 in the charts, and that's when, you know, sort of big sales were you know, you'd need to sell, you know, hundreds of thousands of records to get in the but yeah, so we sold a load of it, and then after that we recorded the album. So it was pretty all really quite quick. We had the studio at night because it was cheaper.
Yeah.
And you know, sort of it was it was really good fun. It was hilarious.
Were you doing like night recordings? Were you going in late and finishing early in the morning? Was it kind of like that, or?
I literally, because I was working at the time, I would get home from work, have my dinner, have a shower, then go out, go and record till 3 or 4 in the morning at least.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'd go straight from the studio to work, or I'd pop back home, get changed, and just go straight back out.
Wow.
You can only do that when you're young.
It's true. Yeah, you need the energy. You need the energy of youth. Yeah. I couldn't do any of that now. Blimey. Now, of course, you went on to you're going on to big things really rapidly here. You know, you've gone like your first couple of gigs, and you're supporting Mary Jane. Then you've released a record and so on, and then you find yourself on Top of the Pops. Now that must have been pretty. I imagine that a pretty surreal experience.
It was. You know, you're on this iconic show, but it was actually quite boring. Wasn't very exciting.
Yeah. Is that because there's just a lot of waiting around and things? Yeah.
Well, the dressing rooms were like school dressing rooms, like, you know, for gym.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. And people didn't really talk to each other. We actually wrote notes and sort of, you know, sort of the smell sign simply read, and we put it under the
Oh, nice one. At least you're having a good laugh with it. Yeah. Amusing yourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing. We did amuse ourselves, much to the annoyance of many people.
Yeah. But so that must be strange. Yeah, that first time. So that first time you were on there, was that with Rules and Regulations?
No. No. The first time we were officially on Top of the Pops was with What's the Point? Because that was in the charts, and that was our first. But first physical appearance was with International Rescue.
Ah, right. Yeah, yeah. Second album, yeah. So for the album, you must have obviously to promote it. That's when you would have gone on more of a like, serious tour. Would it have been around that time? Were you know, like that, doing a full tour?
The first album we toured, and we toured it extensively. But the second album we didn't until we reformed. So we only ever played stuff live in 2010, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah. It would have been, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Because I was going to get onto that about that. Yeah. There was one song you did. I saw YouTube footage of it. Now I don't know whether this was a cover version or whether it was one you all created. And I believe it was called. Is it? If I'm right in saying it was called Flowers. Does that ring a bell to you? Flowers or something? Uh it's a clip where Vix has a cold while she's singing. She says to the audience,
Oh, roses.
"Roses." Sorry, I knew. Well, it's a flower, but I wasn't far off.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
roses. Yeah. That that was a song that we wrote, yeah.
that's a really well crafted song. I
Thank
was
you.
listening to it, and it was really melodic, you know. And I thought, wow, you know, there's more to these girls than meets the eye, you know.
And well, so we could write a song.
Yeah,
I mean, look at Irish Bride,
that's another one. Yeah,
sort of I think that's a really, really excellent song. So if we could write songs. And here's the thing that I think, sort of I think is quite interesting. People accused us of not writing our own songs, which is in fact a flipping brilliant compliment, isn't it? So, how could they write that? Well, we did.
he did. Yeah, yeah,
So there we go.
yeah.
It was a compliment. They didn't realise the detractors.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was just unbelievable the things that you got to do while you were together. You know, in those early days, because you got to do a John Peel session as well. You know. Um,
Oh, that was ace.
yeah.
That was so much fun, and it was so controversial, because John Peel sort of thought we were brilliant, and of course we did Bohemian Rhapsody on that,
Yeah, I've heard that.
um,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we'd run out of material. We had no more material, and they said, "Haven't you got anything else?" And they said, "Well, we do sing Bohemian Rhapsody in the car quite a cappella." And they
right.
said, "Go on, go and do it." So we did it, and of course it caused, you know people were just enraged that this had gone out on John Peel.
Yeah,
And then some other people just thought it was flipping brilliant.
yeah,
um so he said after that session, he said, I've had my post bag, and this session has caused you know loads of controversy. And he was reading out some of the comments of people, and it was absolutely hilarious. Not the ones that loved us, it was the ones that hated it
yeah,
that were
yeah.
really, really funny. And sort of, and of course we didn't care. We couldn't care less. Sort of, it was fantastic. We were so glad to have caused such controversy.
Yeah. You were just having a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
you could tell on the recording you were, you know, without a doubt.
And
Um,
the engineers loved us because we were raucous and we didn't care. We just did not care. um we were just having fun and enjoying every minute of it.
yeah,
And I'm so glad that we had that experience, because I just think, if I'd have worked all my life to get to that point, and I'd been worried about stuff, and we weren't. We were just in a place where we could enjoy it.
yeah. Getting on to a Big Bang, the second album,
Mm-hmm,
that was a big change in many ways. You're signing to a big label,
mm-hmm,
and the production values have obviously changed from the first album,
mm-hmm.
and the lush soundscapes are different. You know, you've changed kind of direction a wee bit.
Yeah,
Was that a conscious decision on
yeah,
your part to do that? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it was. Sorry, I've just got to plug my phone in.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah,
Um, yeah, basically, so the bands, when we started, three of them were, sort of 15 actually, 15-year-olds. And the amount that you change between 15 and 18 it's massive.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So the girls had all sort of settled on different kind of genres of music, and so we had to sort of try and find a way of continuing, but to make everybody kind of not happy, but it's sort of use what I said at the time was, we've been given this opportunity. Why don't we just do pop music? Because we all liked pop music. Why don't we do pop music and then sort of see how it goes?
Yeah.
And so that's what we did, and we wrote pop songs, and sort of, I mean, I don't think we thought it would go on forever. And to be honest, sort of, I don't know how to put this, but sort of, yeah, we didn't think it would go on forever, and we were actually quite level-headed about it. It was the second sort of inception of Fuzzbox was actually quite business-like. We'd been given an opportunity to potentially make a lot of money, which we didn't, but there was that potential too.
Yeah.
And so we grabbed it, and who wouldn't,
Oh yeah, yeah.
And at that point, sort of, we were making enough money to live. We had a wage coming in, and so it was a no-brainer, really, to sort of do that.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
Why do you think? Do you know what were the reasons why you didn't tour that album?
The record company wouldn't let us.
Huh?
No.
Blimey. I wonder why.
They
can't you get into that?
No, I don't care. They thought we couldn't play, but we could, and we
You'd already been doing it for a few years beforehand. Yeah.
We showed them in
Yeah.
2010 when we toured, and we hadn't been a band for ages, and we went out, and you can see it on YouTube. We could do it.
Yeah.
We could do it.
Yeah.
It was sexism and sort of just underestimating us. We were perfectly competent.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
We were not not the Rolling Stones, but competent.
It's a shame it didn't happen back then, but yeah.
It would have been brilliant. It would have been brilliant.
However, we did make up for that in 2010, I think it was, when you did the reunion tour.
Yeah, we did.
And Joe was there, and Vix, and who else did you have back then in the band?
There was Sarah Firebrand and oh gosh, her name's just, I can see her face clear as day. Drummer Karen Millen. That's it.
Okay, yeah, yeah. And that did really well, didn't it? I believe that tour.
Yes, it did. We did really, really well, and we showed people that we could play.
Yeah. And yeah, I missed out on that one, but I did get to see you in 2015, as you know, at the 100 Club gig that you did, which was great fun. Good lineup too you had there as well, support. And I met Saffron as well, which is nice, from Republica. Yeah.
Yeah, she was there.
Yeah, indeed. The I'd like you now, Maggie, please, to, because around this time in 2010, 2011, that was the last sort of time that you played with Jo, your sister,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
um, who sadly passed some time after.
Hmm.
Could you share some memories about Jo, please, with us?
Well, it's coming up to her 10th anniversary,
Okay.
and so I'm not sure what to do about that. I'm sort of betwixt and between stuff, but maybe sort of do something, um, sort of do one of those Facebook charity things and do it for pancreatic cancer or something.
Yeah.
Um, but sort of, and again, life and luck, and you don't know, you just don't know with life. Um, sort of Jo, I'm so glad I did that tour. I'm so glad, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't have the memories that I've got. And sort of, you do need to sort of grab opportunity at every occasion.
Yeah.
But sort of, like I said, it's coming up soon. What's the date today? The 12th, is it?
Yeah, yeah. Hold on, sorry.
Is it the
13th,
11th?
I think. 13th today, I think.
Is it the 13th?
Yeah,
Um, so it would have been, this time 10 years ago, she only had 13, she had 13 days to live. So, um, and she wasn't ill for very long, mercifully. Um, she got her diagnosis and then was dead within 7 weeks.
yeah.
It was that quick.
It's quick. Yeah,
And, so she was really brave. She chose not to linger. She chose to withdraw from treatment and go to a hospice. And
yeah.
she died within the day of making that decision. I think she just decided that was it. She was going,
Mm,
and sort of, and she died very peacefully. Um, and I thought she was extraordinarily brave about that, not to continue to cling on to life. And I'm
mm.
really glad as well, recently, um, people have stopped referring to a battle with cancer or a fight, because everybody wants to live. Nobody wants to die. And to say, oh, lost their battle, suggests that they weren't fighting hard enough.
Yeah,
But when you've got cancer everywhere, because it had spread everywhere by the time she'd got diagnosed, it's not a battle.
no.
It's, that's cruel. Um, so I'm glad we've changed that. Jo made the right decisions to do with her illness,
Mm,
and that's so if I always admired Linda Bellingham for
oh, yeah.
saying she didn't want treatment. She was just going to live whatever time she had left, just live her life. And there's a lot of really good evidence as well to show that people who go down the palliative route often have a better outcome in like quality of life in you know certain cancers. And like I said, so Jo didn't suffer massively, and I'm glad she chose to withdraw from treatment. And I hope that, if I wind up in that space that I'm brave enough to do that.
Yes. Of course. I hope that won't happen, obviously.
Well, we've all got to die.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing. But it's if that kind of severity of illness was my destiny, I'd hope I'd be big and brave enough. But so if Jo was a character, she, one of the handful of females that you can remember from the 80s that played a guitar.
Yeah.
A handful. So she made a mark. She was very funny. Very, very funny. Some of the interviews, if you read back,
Yeah.
on some of them, she was just hilarious.
She is. Yeah. I remember some of those things, yeah. With the appearances you did on TV and stuff. Pretty wild. All of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You did a lot of children's shows, didn't you, back then too? Yeah.
Oh, we loved children's TV.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they loved us.
Yeah, Razzmatazz was one, I think, and Saturday Superstore, I think you did. It was quite a lot, yeah.
No, there were quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they loved us.
and now you're working on some new stuff, I believe.
Yeah,
Yourself,
I am.
some solo work. What can you reveal
Yeah.
about that to us, Maggie?
Okay, it's called Black Clown. And so it's sort of dancey, gothy esque. It's not goth music per se, but it's gothy. And yeah, that's where I'm at. And also, I'm doing a project with Mike Bennett about serial killers. Well, that was the inspiration. And so we've been working with various people. Maggie Dunne from Scarlet Fantastic's done a track. Christine Stapley from what's it? Oh God, it's gone. Staples, sorry, not Christine Staples. Christine Staples from it's a ska band. The name of it's just gone. Isn't that just bizarre?
I wish I knew as well. Not the Body Snatchers.
No.
No.
Neville Staples. He's in it. Anyway, them.
Yeah.
So it'll come to me in a minute. And also Melanie Williams, she's done something. So and we're just getting various artists. It's female focused. But Christine's song is so amazing.
Yeah.
It's Voodoo Feline. It's just incredible. I've done a track called Peculiar Female Thing. Maggie's done one, and it's just incredible. Honest to God, when I heard it, I was just like, oh my God. It's going to be a really, really interesting project.
Yeah.
And the girl that's in my drummer, the drummer in Black Clown, Jenny Tingle, she's done quite a lot of work on it as well. She's also a flautist. So we're using flute quite a lot because it's an eerie instrument and it hasn't been used a lot recently.
Not really, no.
And sort of I've noticed that there's a bit of and I often wonder how this happens. There's a bit of a trend to sort of use solo instruments at the moment. And so I don't go out that much to watch bands, but it's funny how it comes through the ether, isn't it?
Oh yes, yeah. So when do you think this sort of this kind of stuff will be released? How far away are we looking at here? You think?
Well, the serial killer one is in production at the moment. So I think we're looking at early next year for that. And similarly with Black Clown, we're still kind of finalizing our sound.
Yeah.
So, and I think so before we do recording proper, we'll do a few more gigs and then sort of see how we feel about certain tracks and how things work.
Sure. Yeah, test the water, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah.
It all sounds interesting though. So would you say it's quite a departure from Fuzzbox music that you're doing? Or
Well, I've done a couple of covers of Fuzzbox songs. So Jamaican Sunrise is one. And Fast Forward Futurama.
oh yes, yeah.
I've been trying to sort of make that quite eerie, sort of something that you'd see on, might be in Blade Runner or something, if you know what I mean.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Something like that. But obviously you can tell from Fuzzbox there was quite a lot of influence from outer space, and I've still got a fascination with space.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
one of my favorite tracks of Black Clown is called Pluto's Heart, and that's written about when you're a teenager and you suddenly realize, oh my god, like, oh my god, I don't know where I am, I don't know who I am, and that just massive realization that you're going to be an actual adult.
Yeah.
And how lonely that is. And so if I used to imagine that I could go to the edge of the solar system when I was young, and I did not know until about a year ago that on Pluto there's a heart.
Ah,
Have
right.
a
I
look
didn't know that either.
online,
yeah.
and that's why it's called Pluto's Heart, because there is actually a heart-shaped object on Pluto. It's massive.
Wow.
And really quite beautiful.
Yeah. I didn't even know that. I'm gonna have to look that up. Yeah.
But in that song as well, I've got little snapshots of the golden disc that was sent on Voyager. So there's bits and pieces, sounds from that, and a bit of some of the songs that were on there. That's all in that track. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I'm a massive fan of Voyager. It's my favourite human object.
Cool. Yeah. I like the mysteries of the universe as well. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the mysteries of the universe, or is it just one universe? Could
yeah,
be
that's another thing.
multiverse.
Are we talking multi? Yeah, yeah, that's another theory that's going around that they're taking more seriously now too.
Well,
Scientists are
yeah.
actually looking into all that now. Yeah.
Well, one scientist, she found what she thinks is actual evidence based on her calculations of another universe bumping into ours. So there should be she in her theory, she thought there should be a cold spot, I think.
Yeah.
And sort of in that beautiful map of the known universe, there is a cold spot where she predicted it would be.
Ah, you see.
So,
Yeah.
ooh.
And all those things about time travel and things like that. That's another thing that really fascinates me. Going forward and backwards in time and so on. And is it achievable? And theoretically speaking, apparently it is.
I
But
think you can go
we just haven't got
forward.
the resources to do
No,
it.
you can go.
Um,
Well,
it's supposed to be about
theoretically,
bending time, isn't it, or something? You go from point A to point B much faster.
yeah.
like a wormhole, they call it, that theory, wormhole, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. But time, you, we do travel in time
we are.
because
Yeah, we're doing it now.
so we, if you get a plane to Australia, you're traveling in time in as it's calculated. I mean, you're not actually time traveling, but we're traveling in time, sort of moving forward. But there's, so time is different on the moon from
Ah,
on Earth.
yeah,
So, sort of time is a very weird thing to get your head around.
it is. Because I wonder how lost we'd be without it. Because if we didn't have clocks and so on, and we didn't have to set times for appointments, everything is dictated by time, isn't it? In some way, when we get
Mm.
up, when we go to bed,
Mm-hmm.
if suddenly all those things stopped, do you think the world would be thrown into chaos?
No, and I can tell you why it would not. Because if you look at any animal, it has a routine that goes in time. If you've ever owned a pet, your dog or cat knows when dinner time is.
Yes, they
No,
do. They do. Yeah. Yeah.
they know. It's an innate thing. We observe more than you think we would. I found it fascinating when I first went to the Southern Hemisphere, like quite far down. I went to South Africa and Namibia and Australia. And what struck me about that most
Mm.
was this feeling of being lost, because you don't realize how much you actually observe the night sky.
Yeah.
It's imprinted on your brain, and that. And when the references are not there, you just think, oh, and it's a really odd thing. It's
Yeah.
really odd to get used to that new sky. Um, and we all have a natural sort of time frame. We all do. Yeah, we just do.
It's a fascinating thing, isn't it?
We do.
And also about these things now that uh, if things become catastrophic down here on terra firma where we are, um, they're already getting the wheels in motion to colonize the moon and Mars
Mm.
at some point. How do you feel about that, Maggie?
Well, I don't think I'd quite like to go to the moon on holiday, but I wouldn't
Yeah,
want to live there.
yeah.
I like
Because
Earth.
the Mars thing it's a pretty scary prospect because of how far away it is. I mean, but
Well, at points it's millions of miles away.
yeah,
Once you're there, there's no coming back.
you can't come back. And so they're looking for people who will not, who are really like basically giving up on Earth to people that want to to go up there uh, um, without dependence and so on. So it's going to be only a certain amount of people that would be picked for this kind of thing because it's a one-way ticket. You've got to be sure that you never want to come back. You know.
Yeah, I mean, but what an amazing way to live your life. What an adventure. If I was younger, I'd consider it, but at my age, no.
But when you're younger, though, you're going to miss all the things that happen here. You'd never be able to experience any of that. You know.
Yeah, but you'd have a unique experience, an experience that very few humans would have. It's an absolute privilege to do that, in my opinion. But there we go.
So in a sense, if that does happen, we would be the Martians. Or I mean, the people up there would be. You know.
Absolutely.
You're thinking, I wonder if it was like that all along. Maybe we always were, you know, who knows? If you're going like
Well, nobody
with the
knows.
time travel thing, you know.
No one knows. And that's another thing that irritates me about contemporary society is this insistence that people know everything when they don't. I don't. And do you know what? It's all right to say that as well. Oh, this, that, and the other. Well, this is what I think. But, I mean, look at outer space. I can see stars. I believe that they're stars. But I don't actually know, do I?
No. There's
No,
no
I
way
don't.
really of calculating that, is it? Unless you're up there, unless you can find a way to be up there with them and see them in close range, which is pretty impossible for us. But you know, uh,
I mean, I'm not like blooming nuts. I do believe that, the universe exists and stuff.
mm,
But
yeah,
yeah.
it is fascinating though. It really is. I mean, the wonders of the that we barely even tapped into, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's just so much to learn. I mean, but then again, there's so much to learn down here, let alone up there. We don't even know what's underneath all the oceans.
No,
You know,
no.
and there's some weird stuff down there.
I know. I've watched David Attenborough.
That looks more alien than anything up here. It's really strange.
I
Some of
know,
the
it's
yeah,
wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
incredible. Yeah, and even the octopus. That looks that's one of the most alien looking things I've ever seen. And the things it can do is just phenomenal.
I
How
love
clever that thing is. You know.
Have you seen My Octopus Teacher?
No. Tell me about that. Go on.
Oh, it's an amazing film, and you cry so much. I didn't cry, right? I'm getting welling up. I didn't cry. I absolutely blubbed my face off. I did. It was so incredible. It's so moving.
Wow. My
It's
octopus
so
teacher. I'm gonna have to look that up. Yeah.
moving.
Yeah.
Honest to God, if you don't cry, you're made of stone, because it is just incredible.
Yeah. That sounds good. Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. It's one of the best films ever. It really, really. I'm welling up now just thinking about it. It is just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
Can't.
is it like a drama kind of film? Drama kind of.
No, no, no. It's a documentary about this man and his relationship with this wild octopus.
Oh. So
Doesn't
he
end
goes
well.
down and he dives with it and everything.
End well. But it's an incredible, incredible piece of cinema. It's
Yeah.
just incredible. It's amazing.
I'm gonna have to check that out, Maggie. Yeah. Yeah. And all you folks as well, check it out if you haven't seen it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Listeners, do sort of get a bag of tissues, and sort of sit there, and then sort of it's awesome.
So a good recommendation there from Maggie. What other kind of films do you like, Maggie, as a matter of interest? What sort of things, what kind of genres do you like?
Oh, I suppose it's easier to say what I don't like,
Mm,
which is sort of action films and things that are really predictable.
yeah.
I love the guy that my favorite film is Pan's Labyrinth, and I
Oh
love
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Um, and I watched The Shape of Water recently, which is another of his films, and it just absolutely I loved that. I quite like a lot of sci-fi-ish films, but that kind of magical realist Is it called Guillaume de Toro? Is that what he's called?
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah. I love that kind of thing. Where, because cinema should be a blend of, it can do reality and magical realism. It can do that really, really well. And it works on film and it works in books too. But yeah, I like that kind of thing. I like, what else do I really, really like? I'm just trying to think. I like, sort of true stories. But yeah, I'm quite, sci-fi and, that kind of, like I said, magical realism. And I like a lot of Disney.
Yeah. What's your faves?
I love The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh yeah.
Jungle Book is one of my all-time favorite films ever.
I love that one. Yeah.
But I like a lot of them. I like loads of them. And I love Star Wars. What else? Yeah.
You into any horror movies or?
I like some horror.
Yeah.
So I either like Hammer House of Horror.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. That was good.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
That
Vincent
series, yeah, the
Price.
series, wasn't it? Yeah, it was really good.
Price was
Some of
so
that creeped the hell out of
amazing.
me. Some of that stuff was really scary, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm watching. I think it's called The Midnight Club on Netflix at the moment,
Yeah.
which is really good. But I like The Ring, the original Ring, not the remake.
Yeah.
The Vanishing, again, the original.
Yeah.
But I don't do zombie films or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that kind of thing. But I do like a good horror.
I actually prefer more psychological horror rather than like the real over top gore type horror.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I agree with that
More
too.
suspenseful stuff, that kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, The Hand That Rocked the Cradle and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Keeping you on your edge of your seat,
Yeah.
Whereas Blood and Guts is just too easy to do that. It's not. It doesn't really move the story along for me or anything. It's not. I'm not keen on body horror. Really particularly. That's why I don't like stuff like Hellraiser and all that kind of thing.
No, I'm not a big fan of that kind of thing either. But the gore just it doesn't. The thing is, it does nothing for me. It just makes me. I mean, bizarrely, in horror movies, when it's over the top, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But if I see something on a TV show where somebody's cut themselves or something, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
no, I don't like it. But in horror films, no.
The only one that I can look back on now from those early days of horror, that was what they used to call video nasty. Do you remember those things that came out? A lot of things got banned for years before they could be shown. One of them was The Evil Dead, and I remember that having a huge impact on me when I saw that. Have you ever seen that, Maggie? The Evil Dead?
No, I haven't.
1981. Well, the only way I can describe it is batshit crazy. Basically, it's kind of like a dark comedy as well. There's some parts of it you're kind of chuckling, but you're thinking, should I be laughing at this point? One of those kind of make you feel really uncomfortable, that kind of thing. And it's just crazy. It gets more crazy as it goes along. It's a slow burn at first, but then it just goes mental the last half hour or so. And that one had quite an impact on me when I watched it. And I felt queasy when I first saw that, because it was a little bit violent, should we say. It's a bit mild now when you look at it now after like 40 odd years or something. But But yeah, those sort of things were intriguing to me. And some of them stuck with me, and I still rewatch them even now. Like that Hammer House of Horror you mentioned, Maggie, and things like that. It's still
Oh, I always watch it if it's on. I love Hammer House.
yeah, all those sort of anthology series were pretty cool around the time, weren't they? They did a lot of those things at the time, like Appointment with Fear and all those sort of Tales of the Unexpected. I
Oh,
used
I
to
love
like,
Tales of the Unexpected. It was
yeah, they were all
amazing.
really good. You know, we don't get that kind of thing much now. Uh,
No,
um,
no, you don't.
I think there's one series that was kind of like in that vein. Uh, um, I don't know if you've ever seen it, Maggie. It was called American Horror Story. It's kind of an
I've seen
anthology
a
thing.
few of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not too
It's
bad.
no, no, it's okay, but it's a bit arch for me. It's a bit knowing
Yeah,
in some ways, but um, yeah, it's something that perhaps I should revisit actually.
yeah. I haven't seen much of it. I've just seen a couple of episodes like you. But for some reason, they used to. It was quite an unusual way they did it because every now and again, within in the episode, they'd break into a musical song, which I found kind of weird. You know?
Yeah, weird is good. Quite often.
Yeah, weird is good. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, yeah. Um, and on that note, Maggie, which is a good way to end, I suppose. Weird is good. Um, I have no more questions for you.
Well, that's good because I need to go and cook dinner.
Yeah.
So, excellent. Well,
So
lovely
good.
to chat to you.
It's great talking
And
to you, Maggie, too. Yeah,
yeah,
lovely. And thank you guys very much for watching too. I hope you enjoy this. And we'll be back with some more interviews very soon. So thank you again, Maggie, for joining
okie
me.
doke.
And you all take care. Oh,
Okay,
bye
bye.
bye. Bye.